Okay, welcome to those that have joined so far. We'll give it a couple of minutes to let the other registered people join. Just update. Yeah, a couple more joining. Give it another 30 seconds and then we'll start. Okay, I think we'll start. So thank you everyone for attending. The title of my chat with Cuong is Oops, You Did It Again, which I need to thank Britney Spears for that title. But we're going to cover 3 mistakes to avoid during enterprise cloud migration. I don't think we'll be referencing any more Britney Spears songs during the next 25 minutes, but you never know. Cuong, do you want to introduce yourself? Can't hear you.
Hello, I'm Cuong Lee. I'm the Chief Strategy Officer at Data Dynamics. Looking forward to chatting today with you guys because, we've seen it all in terms of some of the challenges that our customers have gone through, some of the things that they wish they could have done better as they've done multiple different types of data migrations, cloud migrations, and data management projects.
I'll introduce myself. My name's Danny O'Connor. I'm Field CTO for Data Dynamics, and my background was running a number of large infrastructures and data centers in financial markets. And in my day, we didn't care about data so much. What we cared about was buying enough storage footprint to accommodate everything. So the world has changed significantly, and priorities have definitely changed as well. So let's just jump straight in. So Cuong, this first slide, the realities of cloud migration. So when we put this together, I looked at this and went, this is just nuts, right? 90% of CEOs have experienced failures during data migrations. 25% didn't meet their own deadlines for migration, and the average project taking 12 months plus. And then the last one, 74% of companies have moved applications back to on-prem after repatriating them out to the cloud. I mean, this is stunning.
It is stunning. It is one of those things that, unfortunately, we see way too often with our customers. All these projects start off with great intentions, intentions around, say, ESG, and consolidation of data centers, or intentions around cost saves, efficiency, agility, all these wonderful and amazing expectations. But the reality is that we've seen over and over, people discount or don't really understand how difficult it is to do the cloud migration. What are the different challenges they have to go through? What are the different processes? All those types of things. And way too often, we've come in, I'd say, like well after, a number of companies have started on this challenge. They weren't able to do it. They've ran into a lot of issues, and we had to go through it. So I'm not surprised, but it is shocking still looking at those numbers. What's your experiences, Danny?
Yeah, so it was before my time, but what I have seen is that companies have decided that they're on a cloud-first strategy. So it's cloud first. We know there's going to be benefits. We know there's going to be cost savings. We know there's going to be more agile capability, and it's only going to be a good thing. But they don't do their homework. And basically, as you say, it's a cloud-first strategy. There's commitments built in to cloud adoption, and we've seen a number of companies that just don't meet the minimum commitment because they haven't thought it through, and they haven't thought what they want the ultimate outcome to be. Let me move on to the next slide, Cuong, because I think this sort of explains the critical mistakes that they make, as I just mentioned, lifting and shifting of data without actually understanding what your current and existing footprint is and what it is you want to move and why you want to move it and what you're going to do with it when you've moved it and how you're going to protect it and secure it when you've moved it. We are still seeing companies who come to us and say, right, we've got a strategy to migrate to the cloud. We want to use your software to migrate to the cloud. So we say, great, what are you moving? Oh, everything. Why? Well, that's our strategy and our plan. But wouldn't it make more sense to understand what you've got, do the right level of analytics, and then make some sensible database decisions based on what you move and then where you house it and what you do with it once you've moved it?
Yeah, I mean, going to the cloud and getting the cloud first and getting the agile and getting all those types of things, is an opportunity to really modernize, to really, make the business better. But what ends up happening is that, a lot of them, or a lot of our customers or a lot of other organizations, they look at what's the easiest and fastest way for me to get to the cloud. And it's a lift and shift. But with a lift and shift, there's a number of challenges. When I lift and shift, how do I get all the data up there? How do I get the permissions there? How do I make sure the right people have access? Is all that data that should be there, should it be there? What if that data had things that I had compliance or regulations and rules on? Such as we've had some situations where people were moving data up into the cloud that had, PII and various other types of information, from a country with data sovereignty rules that didn't allow them to be able to get it to another country. So there's different types of things that get in the way and challenges there. And we see this way too often because the easy thing to do is if I have to go to the cloud, I see that, storage over there, let's just go get that from A to B and I'm done. That's what a lot of people think, and that's oversimplifying it. But that's where a lot of the challenges, start happening. There's also, a lot of challenges in terms of how do you go do it? How do you deal with the complexity and all the different environments? There were decades that were put in putting your infrastructure in place. It's going to take quite a bit of time just to untangle and understand that, and then make sure that that gets over into the cloud in the right way. And this is, something we see way too often.
And what about this storage optimization? So we say here that people don't think it through because there's opportunity when you do move to cloud to optimize your legacy or your source environment if you tidy things up first. And I think we've seen that, right, where we run the analytics and we say, do you realize that 40% of your data hasn't been accessed since the day it was created, and yet you're replicating it, copying it and backing it up and continuing to buy more storage? So there's a double trade-off, right? There's the understand what you've got, tidy it all up, and then migrate to the cloud so you make best use of the environment you're moving to.
Yeah, and I see like in our poll results here that I guess 100% of you that answered the poll said that it's the complexity in the cloud migration is really what gets to you. And that is, that is very much the case. You have things that you have to set up with security, with network, with user accounts, with mapping of security, with working through all those different types of things. And it's a different and unique set of challenge that you have to go through. And while doing so, also maintain the existing legacy type of governance, that you have in your environment. Those are all, real key challenges. So thanks for responding to that poll. But it's what we see quite a bit as well. Is that
I mean, I've seen it myself, Cuong. Every company is unique in the way they set up their firewalls and they set up their permissions and their security. So everything is complex. So let's just move on. The root cause that lead to these mistakes, I think we've sort of referenced it earlier. It's like you've got to understand what you've got, so you make decisions based on data. So you know what you've got, what you're going to do with it, how you're going to manage it, how you're going to make sure it's secure and protected, and you're going to make sure that you optimize the amount of data that you actually moved. And it goes back to that previous slide, really. Not thinking, That doesn't mean that C-level execs are not the brightest, but you really have to get into the detail around your environment before you make some decisions around your cloud migration strategy. I think that we see aspirational statements and commitments, but that, and then reverse engineer into the detail around how to make it happen.
Yeah, I mean, we see this, quite often. I know this sounds very basic and very simple, but a lot of times it's the simple and basic things. If you get that done right, having a very clear understanding of your environment, and then being able to put that strategy together, and then be able to execute that strategy. It sounds, very basic, in that, but it's really those type of fundamentals that can help you be very successful.
Yeah. So obviously, the consequences of not thinking and not executing are a number. Obviously, the more data you have in more locations and places that you're not aware of or are aware of but haven't secured can lead to data breaches. Data breaches in turn can lead to regulators coming in, giving you penalties for lack of compliance practices. And we're seeing more and more of those, especially around PII management. I always refer to the fact I've got a bank account, and every bit of information that the bank has about me is my information, and I can ask for that to be retrieved. They, as custodians of that data, have a responsibility to me, but also when the regulators come in and ask to see evidential-based data to prove that Danny O'Connor does exist, and this is all the data, and demonstrate that they've identified all the data associated with me as well, which is a huge burden because it's just taking it down to a different level of detail, and you need the right tools, the right management, the right organizational structure to make sure that you can manage that, because more and more penalties are coming because of lack of compliance. And obviously, as we mentioned before, the danger is if you don't think it through, it's going to cost you more. We mentioned earlier that people have moved to the cloud and moved back, and in some of those cases, that's because they didn't see the benefits that they were anticipating. Quite often, that's because they only solved part of the puzzle. The legacy environment wasn't completely eradicated, so you need to do something with the data that you're not moving to the cloud. And obviously, you don't often realize the full saves that you expected if you haven't thought it through.
Yeah, some examples. To think about how you get into this type of trouble or how this happens. There are very simple things. There may be text files that your employees are keeping with username passwords to go and access various different types of systems. It's an easy thing to do. You save it in a certain place, or you might have like a team location where you do that. Or what I find out quite a bit is a lot of the salespeople in organizations, they don't like working through structured sales systems, in their CRMs. And so what they do is they many times download all of the information about their customers, their PII information, their contact information, credit cards, all that. They would download that from the CRM systems and put it into a spreadsheet. And then what they would do is they would now share that spreadsheet with a broader organization, so everyone can now go use that as their shadow CRM versus their actual CRM systems. And it's all this type of stuff out there that creates a lot of unknowns and challenges that then, is one of those types of things that can create a business impact for you down the road if you're not aware of this, if you're not managing this, if you're not governing that.
So what can we do? What's our advice, Cuong, to stop these things happening? Obviously, know your data. I know we keep repeating that theme, but it's so important to know what you've got, what it is, where it is, and what the right thing to do with it. And then organize it in the right way. So structure your unstructured data. Put some things into some order. Get some appropriate tagging and correlation between the type of data and the type of files that all belong together. So what about, can you talk about the modernization goals?
Yeah, I mean, for sure, right? I mean, as you're saying, just, as you're looking and exploring and discovering your environment, knowing all your file shares, knowing all of your data, your unstructured data, where it's at, categorizing is important. But then, what do you want to do with it? Do you want to just use this data here as a just in case, like you want to have it just in case? Is it something that's going to help you deliver additional business value where you want to put the data up into a data lake, and you want to be able to classify, that data so that you can quickly and easily be able to find it? Is it data that you require to be searchable, because you need to put in a place where you can search that data, find the information in it, maybe do like a legal discovery or some other type of use case? What is the intention of that data? And then how do you enrich that data as you go and you make a change? So basic types of enrichments could be, doing things like tagging and classifications of it, or doing a full index of that data so that you can find information within it, or being able to identify what type of entities are in there that are either sensitive, business sensitive, or personal type information. Those are types of things that you want to make sure you understand, because we can, you want to convert your data to a more useful state, as you're doing this type of stuff. And more importantly, at the end of the day, you want your data to reign. You want your data to rule, because all companies and industries now are moving towards a much more information driven, data driven type decision making process. So how do you make sure that your data is helping you create a competitive advantage or an efficiency advantage for your organization? And that's one of the real key things. Is at the end of the day, what all companies care about is how do they drive additional growth in their business, as well as additional P&L capabilities out of it. And that's where you have the data working for you.
So Cuong, I just want to go back one step, which is data modernization goals. When do you do that? Can you do that if you don't know what you've got today?
You have to know what you have, and you have to know who uses that data. And so, the first step of know your data is so critical, and it's something that we have found. I would say in the high 90%, of people I talk to, they have no idea. They don't have a process, a methodology. They don't know their data. They may know like how many arrays they have, how much infrastructure they bought, but they really don't know what that data is. They don't know if that data is being used. I worked with some customers where they had thousands, tens of thousands of home shares belonging to people no longer with the company. They were just keeping it there, and they didn't even realize that the people were gone. Right? It's those types of things, and you find quite a bit of it. It's that as people are joining the company, leaving the company, they always leave artifacts of their data. You have all these different applications that you may have, or you may not even think you're using anymore. A lot of people don't think they have PST files anymore, but they find a ton of it. And they don't think that people are downloading data off of their CRM systems or other things, other sensitive systems. Yet that's happening. They don't think about all the API keys, passwords, and all that type of stuff. Those are all things that you don't really know about until you actually understand your data, and that's the most critical thing. Is start off with understanding what that data is. A shocking statistic that we find is that we find that 70% of customers' unstructured data is dark data. It's orphaned or it hasn't been accessed for more than 2 years. It's just a significant number. And what is the risk, to organizations with that? You have a real high surface area of attack and all of that if you have so much data out there that you're not even aware of and you're not closely managing, and you haven't been managing. And a lot of this is once you understand this, it's like, how do you make things better? And that's where the modernization goals are. I want to do better because I want to actually create the right level of security. I want to do better because I want to make sure that data that's not critical, I put into a life cycle management, and I go and take some of that, and go drive that. I want to make it better by tagging and classifying and structuring that data, but making it searchable and findable, so that ultimately I can have that data and use that data when I need it, where I need it, for my AI, machine learning, and all the amazing number crunching things that customers have out there.
And it's not just one-off exercise, is it? Initially, you do your exercise, but then there's an ongoing operational structure. There's an ongoing governance and control to make sure that once you got everything in the right place, and you know what you need to do, that you continue to do it and checksum yourself to make sure you are still doing the right things.
Yeah, I mean, if you think of just basic hygiene, I like to use this analogy of brushing your teeth, right? If you brush your teeth one time, the people that you're meeting with today, they'll like that, right? That's okay. But if you stop, your teeth aren't going to be there anymore, right? And no one's going to be around you. And I know that's a crazy way to look at it, but it really is the challenge is that if you think about how IT organizations got to where they got to, it's because the basic hygiene was very difficult to do. It was a very challenging thing to do. Now you get that basic hygiene, you use the ability to get up to the cloud as that basic hygiene, but from there, it's maintaining that is really critical, so that you're going to be healthier, stronger, and everyone else is going to like you too.
And you have a great smile as well.
Well, it's important to have your teeth.
Thanks, Cuong. So I'm just going to ask you to walk through this slide because I think it's important to understand the steps and the value that you get out on Destination Cloud.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is a tried and true process that we've taken our customers through. And it really first starts off with, learning and knowing about your data and getting insight about your data and unlocking that. Now, the way that we work is that we work with your existing data, wherever it is on premises, whatever location it's at, whether it's in the cloud or anything else like that. And we do discovery in place. So we discover and understand what your data is in place. So you don't have to go move it anywhere. You don't have to transform it anywhere. We'll just go and we'll do scans and we discover that. And we enrich that data as we discover it. So we can add additional information, classification, where it's from, who it belongs to, all that type of stuff. And also, as through that type of analysis, we can also go identify if there's any type of PII or business sensitive data in it, how much, rot you have in terms of redundant and obsolete, and what type of data is like really hot versus cold. Now, that just gets you the first step, of just really, understanding. And many times in that first step, customers discover a lot of things about their environment, such as they have a lot of critical data that's in shares that's open to everyone and that everyone has access to certain files, and so this is where the next step is, hey, are you ensuring that your data is secure and that you're ensuring compliance? Are you making sure that you're taking the sensitive data and you're quarantining it, and making sure that you either repermission it or you quarantine it so that other people don't have access to it? Because most of the cybersecurity issues come from within. That's one of the sad truths of it all. Is a lot of those issues are from within, and so you need to make sure that you protect yourself from that. Or if someone's able to get into your corporate network, having a wide open, everyone can have access to, file shares where everyone can have access to files that have people's information on it or security passwords or credentials. Those are all things that create a significant threat. And so that's what the next step comes to is, now that how do you make sure that you address the various threats you have and make sure that you're securing your data and closely and tightly managing that data. Yeah. Then from there, now you know what your data is, what's critical, what's what type of data could get you in trouble, or risk. You've managed that, you've mitigated all of that. Now you know what you have and you can migrate that data in confidence. And so you can get that data up into Azure, up into the cloud, go and do that and get that migration done. And at this point, you know enough about the data to know if there's any type of compliance risk that you have with going up into the cloud or what type of rules you have to have within the different regions. So now you go do that. We help, we automate through the whole entire process. And now you get into the cloud. But from the cloud, now you have to do the hygiene. And the hygiene is just a continuous where we're augmenting the data, understanding it, trying to find, where any types of issues, continue enriching it, continue looking for, data points that might be interesting for some of your AI machine learning applications or data intensive big data type applications. It's just going through and continuously updating and managing and pruning and curating that data to make sure that that data is there for you and it's valuable for you. And that's just a very important step in hygiene.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for that, Cuong. We've just done a poll, and actually the most important aspect to consider before adopting the cloud is it's a joint first place between data literacy and data security.
Yeah, I'm not surprised at all. I mean, it's like, how do you get started if you don't even know your data? You can't even read your data, right? So, I mean, the only surprise is, it's not higher, but I understand. I mean, I'm sure this was tough for some people. It was probably 1A, 1B. Data security is also very important, the data is not there, it's not locked up.
Yeah, thanks, Cuong. So, how do we move to the cloud? So, as a specific, we just want to share with you today, which is moving to Azure with the Azure File Migration Program. The reality is that if you are a Microsoft customer and you have an Azure subscription ID, you can use Data Dynamics software to help you move to Azure. And it is free. And I think if you could just talk through this, Cuong, it covers what you get within that program. So just remember, it's a free migration to Azure.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Danny. I mean, this is a great program that we partnered with Microsoft on, because the big challenge is, how do I get started? And a lot of this is, how to get started. And so, first, what we do is we build a policy-based engine that can automate petabyte scale migrations. We've done it where customers have migrated tens of petabytes of data, up into the cloud in a very short time frame, or they had to do data center exits or anything else like that. So we can certainly help with that. We can get the data up there into whether it's blob or Azure files or Azure NetApp files or ADLS. We can go and we can do that. From your various different types of protocols. And at that point, we can also help you with re-permissioning that data, making sure that data is updated to the new permissions that you have over in the cloud as you need it. So we give you that type of capability. And then there's some benefits here as well. So if you have a Microsoft Azure commit to consume agreement, this helps you consume a lot more of the of Azure. But also, one of the things is, if you decide that you would like to have some additional capabilities that Danny and I spoke about, with really knowing your data, understanding your data, a lot more intelligence, a lot more strategy around it. You can also buy our software, through Microsoft, and also counts against your Microsoft Azure commit to consume.
Yeah.
We assigned, customer success teams that's dedicated towards helping you on your journey. And I think that's probably the most important thing is, usually, you don't have anyone you can call and say, hey, can you help me? Here, we'll actually have someone doing that.
Yeah. It's been a very popular program. When did we start, Cuong? February? And I think...
we started in February. And,
has been amazing. And I think there's, a couple of case studies, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And here's one of the examples of a case study. We had a customer who had to close a data center. And they only had, 30 days to do it. In 20 days, they had to get all their data off. And otherwise, it was going to cost them tens of millions of dollars, in fees and penalties and lease extensions and all that type of stuff. So, we were able to help them do it. Got them to do it very quickly. They got up to Azure NetApp files in this case. And that's, that's one of the real key things there. So if you're looking for a fast way, reliable, where it's enterprise class, it handles all those enterprise class attributes, situations, handles all that complexity. This is what we can do, and, and help with that.
Yeah. So it's pretty straightforward to take us up on the offer of the free migration software. Step one, contact us at azure@datdin.com. and register your migration project. We'll then introduce you to our customer success team, and then we'll do a quick onboarding session and kick off the migration. As simple as that. If you want to register for the program, scan this QR code or email us at azure@datdin.com, or email myself, danny.o'connor@datdin.com. That is on the button. We didn't reference any more Britney Spears, but hopefully you've got a sense of some of the challenges we've seen in migration to the cloud. and obviously look forward to you taking us up on the offer of free migrations to Azure. So,
yeah, I mean, look at us as your partners, where we want you to be successful. We're going to do everything we can with all the knowledge that we have, the background that we have, to help you get there. And the price is right? It's a very easy way to get started. And as we engage, as we work, I think there's quite a bit that we can do to help you learn about your data and be able to modernize and take the next steps, in your data journey.
Hey, Cuong, as always, it's been a pleasure. Hope to speak to you face to face pretty soon.
Yeah, likewise, Danny.
Yeah, and thanks everybody for joining. Thank you.